Hey guys, this is Justin from the Survival Review, and I just got back from seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark in IMAX. And so I'm just gonna give you my opinion on the whole IMAX experience. Now, I'm not gonna do a review of the movie per se. I'm not gonna go through the plot or anything. This video is mostly for like the whole IMAX thing. I mean, if you want my quick review of the movie, here it goes. It's great. 10 out of 10. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's great. Anyway, now on to the whole IMAX thing. Oh, and by the way, I know it's a Temple of Doom poster. It's the only one I have. Sorry. It's a great poster. And now on to the IMAX. Now, seeing this movie in IMAX it's a treat. It's just fun to see this movie on the big screen. I mean, the picture quality was actually really good. I mean, there were a couple parts where it was a little kind of like fuzzy. I mean, not really grainy. I mean, I know the movie has to have grain. It can't be too, like perfect. But, like there were some moments where it was like kind of fuzzy. Because like during the darker shots. Like the shot where near the end where Indy's on the German sub after he takes down the guy. And he's putting on his uniform. And the uniform's too small. That part was a little kind of just fuzzy and just, I think would look okay on a normal just like TV screen, but it just looks weird when it's blown up to like an IMAX size screen. Then the moment where Belloc has the idol at the beginning and he's like laughing, looking at the camera, that one part is a little kind of fuzzy. It looks a little weird just seeing it on a giant screen like that. Like I said, if the Blu-ray looks like that, it'll look fine on your TV screen. Just felt a little weird blown up. But now the best thing about this whole IMAX thing was the sound. Wow, that sound was amazing. I mean, whenever he cracks the whip, it's like right next to you, and the part where the boulder comes rolling down, that was nice. And I like how the gun sound effects were still like really loud and present, but you can tell they were not like newer sound effects. Like, I know for the Good and Bad the Ugly on their DVD, like they replaced all the old like kind of like gun sound effects with like newer, more like realistic type sound effects. And I know they did some stuff like that. They kind of remixed the sound for like Jaws, but like when those gunshots are going off in Raiders, you can tell that there's they're the classic gun sound effects. I'm not sure if this makes much sense. But it's good because usually like those gun sound effects, they don't sound that good when I put kind of like surround sound, but they sounded fine. They just sounded great, and they was like them gun sound effects. And so that's the best part, is just that sound design and seeing it on the biggest screen possible, and just seeing all the great scenes. Like in my opinion, one of the best action chase scenes ever. The one where Indy's driving the truck with the Ark in the back. So purely fun and just seeing it blown up. That's a great scene. The special effects surprisingly hold up. Like this is not as big of a special effects movie as like Star Wars, obviously. But when it comes to special effects, they all look good. The only time special effects look a little tad outdated was the stuff when they first uncovered like the entrance into the hole to go to the Ark, and like there's a storm building and like the clouds are gathering, there's lightning all going on like on this really like close up of like Harrison Ford as the lights going on in the background. That shot, those look a little obviously kind of 80s effects. But all the stuff at the end with like the kind of like ghost faces like coming up to the camera and stuff like that, and all those special effects look really good, and they surprisingly stand up. And like the effect with the face melting looked awesome. That was nice. Seeing that on a giant screen, just the face, that was cool. One of the things I like is the fact that it was blown up to IMAX. You can see some of the little kind of like references they threw in, like the scene where Indy and Salah are lifting up the Ark. In the background, on one of the walls, the hieroglyphics, I think it's the word. I don't know why I'm kind of blanking out here. It's like and one of the images is of R2-D2 and C-3PO, and you can see that much more clear on a giant screen. I think they should do this more often with classic movies, but classic like big movies. And like I've mentioned before, I mentioned this in my other video where I just talked about them releasing it. They should do something like that, like every few months release some sort of classic great like action picture or something. And IMAX, that'd be cool because this one was it was a ton of fun. Just experience. I mean, I saw this movie in theaters a few months ago, and this experience still was like really a really fun experience. And one of the things I've noticed from just a movie standpoint, I have to admit I kind of got into Indiana Jones a little bit later. And like I'd already been established like with Star Wars and all that stuff, but I didn't really watch Indiana Jones till like later. So I have to do kind of that kind of feeling that like the movies are a little slow, Raiders. Like I love it and all, but it still felt it was a little like kind of slow movie. But I'm surprised when I saw it tonight. It went by so fast. Like there was never a kind of slow moment. And another thing I just thought this great when the sound design is just hearing that theme gave me like goosebumps. Just hearing that theme just blast over the soundtrack. It's over this like the speakers. Sounded awesome. And it's a really fun. It's worth it, I believe. Especially if you haven't seen the movie in a while. Then it's kind of like it kind of like adds to it because you're like, oh yeah, it's been forever. Like my dad saw it with me. Had seen it a few months ago, but he kind of fell asleep a little bit during that, so this felt kind of like new, and he loved it. And like, it's a great movie to show like your kid or something like that if you're an older person. I mean, to show like a younger family member who hasn't seen like I wanted to. I couldn't, but I wanted to take my 8-year-old cousin to see it because I doubt he's seen Raiders, and this is a great way to introduce it to him on a giant screen. And it's a magnificent movie, and I'm really happy they re-released this. It was a fun ride, and IMAX that's a giant screen, and I mean it doesn't take up the whole entire screen because it wasn't shot in IMAX. There's kind of like those little bars on top and bottom, but it still takes up the majority of the screen, and the screen is pretty big. So especially I'm not sure if it's every IMAX theater like this, but IMAX theater. I think you're seated so close to the screen that it just makes the screen seem even huger, and just it's fun that like like I said, nothing in this movie really looks outdated. I mean, besides the fact that it takes place in the 30s, and the fact that seeing it blown up so much like doesn't hurt it. Like I've heard like some person say like on the Star Wars Blu-ray, they could tell from watching on like a nice Blu-ray projector, they can tell that like some like the costumes and stuff were a little bit cheaper because Star Wars wasn't like the biggest budget, the original. But like this one doesn't have any of those moments because it's a gritty, like realistic action picture. Besides some special effects, but like so that's what was great. The movie doesn't besides some of like the kind of fuzzy moments. The movie doesn't look or sound like it was shot 30 years ago. It's as crisp and as clear as like any movie today. And I'm not sure if that's just the IMAX restoration or the movie, but it sounds great. It's a fun experience. Sam, if you're watching this, see it. It's awesome. And I guess that's about it. Yeah. Talk to you later.